This is Grocery Talks with food distribution guys Richard Baker, where we provide food manufacturers with a greater understanding of Canada's grocery sector. And now, here's our host, Richard Baker.
Hello, my name is Richard Baker, and I'm the president and founder of Food Distribution Guy. Today, I'm pleased to be joined by Bala, the president and founder of Hey Jute. Welcome, BJ, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Richard. So good to be here. Good to see you.
Could you please explain the history behind Hey Jute and the name?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. It's a very popular question because it's a very catchy name, Hey Jute. So needless to say, I'm a Beatles fan. I love the Beatles, and the inception of this venture was about 16 years ago, and we had decided to start offering materials and products that are made of natural plant fibers. And long story short, I ran into this plant called jute, which is a material that's been used way before the 1950s. It was ubiquitous all over the world. So we're just bringing it back, and jute sounds like Jude. And there it goes. So Hey Jute was the name, and it was really catchy, and people loved it. And that's the story behind the name.
Well, no, that's a great story, and actually, so that you've just answered my second question. Part of that, so there is a special meaning to the name Hey Jute. So it's actually the fact that it's actually a plant back from many years ago.
Yeah, so jute is a wonder plant. It belongs to the same plant family as hemp, so it's got a bast fiber, meaning the tensile strength of the fibers of the plant are really, really strong. If you look at any photograph of World War I, which was a trench warfare, you see soldiers in black and white photographs.
Yes.
Of these trenches. Behind these soldiers, you'll see sacks of sand sacks, right, in the trenches. All of those sacks were made of jute. And the first time jute was ever woven into a fabric was actually in Dundee, Scotland, because at the time India was part of the British Empire. So they would take the jute, the fibers from East India, and take them to Dundee, Scotland. And just in World War I think about 2 billion sacks were made for the trench warfare. So it's a material humanity has used ever since back in the pharaohs, the Egyptian pharaohs. But in the 1950s, cheap plastic came around, right? So we forgot about all that stuff and started using plastic. So yeah, that's really the story. It's a wonder plant. If you can imagine, Richard, 1 hectare of jute gives off more oxygen to the planet than 1 hectare of the Amazon.
Wow, well, that's fascinating. That's great to know. And in speaking with you, BJ, I do know of your dedication to preserving the environment. So how's this come about?
This is something that I think is inherent in all of us, all human beings. We sort of know inherently that there's things that we do that are costing the planet and costing our future generations something. So it's something that was a very loud voice inside me at all times. And I personally, I'm a yogi, and I do a lot of meditating and things like that. So I knew that there was this general understanding that the oceans are getting polluted, that innocent lives are having to pay a price because of our consumption. And in fact, this ties in with what's happening in the world right now as well. So there was a shift needed, and there is a shift needed in the way we consume, how much humanity consumes, and the type of products that we consume. So I started this venture about 16, 17 years ago when the iPod first came out. I was visiting India on one of my business trips and discovered a group of women's self-help group that actually made our first product, which was an iPod case made out of this plant material, which was unheard of at the time. So to touch on the fact that, and we'll talk about this even, all our products that we launch and our manufacturing mechanism is very ethical. So not only are our products good for the planet as far as the environment, the way we produce it is also helping humankind. So there's an ethics behind all of the products that we source and manufacture.
And one big angle come from the food sector right now, of course, which is hurting the environment, is the amount of food waste that we're doing every year. Not just from a Canadian perspective. I'm talking about a global perspective overall.
It's tremendous, Richard. The notion that there is enough food to go around for the world is an illusion. There is plenty of food to go around for 7+ billion people. It's just a mismanagement of how it's
correct. Absolutely.
Allocated.
I know that also on social media, you've posted about the 5 misconceptions people make about plastic. Can you just elaborate a little on that for me a bit?
Yeah. I invite people to go to Hey Jute on Instagram and read about it. But these are very, very important misconceptions that we as a Canadian population, or really as a human being, should really be aware of. So by the way, coincidentally, tomorrow, May 29th, is How to Learn How to Compost Day. So this is a good segue. One of the biggest misconceptions that we believe here in Canada is that when we go into, like, for example, in supermarkets, you see PLA corn-based compostable bags that are being sold for produce bags now. You get food packaging that's made out of sugarcane fiber that's compostable. So we as a market, as a public, we go and we buy this product thinking it's compostable. Yes. Whereas the truth is that there's 2 types of compostables. One is vegetables and fruit that you can put in your backyard in a composting facility, in a composting bin. Yes. And the other is that stuff like this, that's corn-based or plant-based or polylactic acid-based, you need a special commercial composting facility for that to happen. So in Canada, so basically a material like this needs to be exposed to 60 plus degrees Celsius for over 30 days and introduced to digestive microbes. That needs a commercial composting facility, and there isn't a single one in Canada. These conditions don't exist. There's only 200 in all of the United States. So we have our supermarkets now trying to do the right thing in offering the public a compostable product, and the public is buying this product thinking it's doing the right thing. It's costing the supermarket more money, and 100% of these bags are going to landfills and actually causing more damage because it's costing more energy to grow the corn and to make the corn to make these bags to begin with. Sad truth is the old polythene bags are better. Like this, there are misconceptions. Brown paper bags is another one. Way worse for the environment. The LCBO gives us brown paper.
That's right. Correct. Yes, I do. Yes.
Way worse for the environment than natural, than even plastic bags. We go to markets and we're given bags like this made out of, we go to the Blue Jays game and we're given this. Yes. These are all virgin plastic that costs more energy to make than a thin plastic bag. So there are other misconceptions as well. I invite you to go to the social media.
I will for sure. I encourage people, and at the end of that, we'll be asking what's the best way to make contact with you, and you can reiterate maybe what you're posting again is there. We do know, like last year, that the federal government announced a ban on single-use plastics that was going to come into effect January 2021. Now we also have heard reports that due to COVID-19, that's going to be pushed back. Why do you feel it's so important that the federal government follow through on this commitment?
Well, this is a very philosophical question, Richard, because I believe there is a general global consensus that we are in this state, this global paradigm right now with COVID, because of a certain way that human beings have been living. And one could isolate it and talk about just bats, but really it's not just that. It's the way we've been living. The environment needed a break, and it's getting a break. So I think that the Canadian government, our government, is very aggressive and has been, maybe not as much as Europe, but certainly compared to a lot of other countries, in figuring out the fact that we really need to ban single-use plastic. It's important. Right now, temporarily, while COVID is happening, people are, of course, shying away from bringing anything that's reusable into another area, which I understand makes sense. However, science and labs have shown that, interestingly, this virus lasts the longest on plastic. It lasts the least on fabric and copper, but it survives the longest, in fact, days, if not a week, on plastic. So moving away from plastic just for the sake of the virus is a good thing anyway. Now, what's important to note, Richard, in the ban that we're doing is only going to be step one, although they've delayed it. They're only banning stir sticks, straws, and the lids of coffee cups. Yes. However, what's important to note is that over 80% of the pollutants is the single Nestle bottles or the Coca-Cola bottles. And they're not banning that. And there's a big socioeconomic political reason behind that. So which I invite our public to inquire about. These are the pressures that we have to say, let's not be afraid of Coca-Cola, and let's tell them our country loves glass bottles. We want glass bottles.
Yeah. Now, unless I'm mistaken as well, I believe it is only like less than 11% of all plastic is actually recycled in this country, and the rest of it is actually either unfortunately end up in landfills or in our oceans.
You're right, Richard. How sad is that? Our country.
Correct. I agree with that. Absolutely. It's sad that it is recyclable, but yet people seem to want to put in their garbage, or they want to put it, or they just want to throw it away in the oceans. And we know what the effect that has been on the underworld sea animals, unfortunately. And we heard some horrific stories about that as well, unfortunately. So Vijay, you're coming out with a line of tableware under the Hey Jute name. So what makes this line of tableware that you're coming out with superior to that of paper or plastic?
Oh, I really, humbly speaking, it's a game changer globally. So currently, when you go to a Walmart or a Loblaws or whatever kind of store and you want to buy for your weekend party disposable plates for a picnic or whatever it is, you go to the shelf and you see the paper plates and you see the plastic plates, and they're a certain price point. And if you want to go green, your next alternative is probably bamboo. And as you were talking, 100% or 200% more expensive. So that's not really an accessible solution for the market. You can't really blame someone not paying 4 times the price to go green. Right? So there's a space in the middle. So the market needed an alternative. This is where we come in. This is where our relationship comes in. So we're going to be the first in the world to actually introduce a single-use throwable tableware, which I'll show you some examples of, that are literally compostable in your backyard. You do not need a commercial facility for it. They're made literally of leaves, and most magically, the price point is similar to plastic and our paper.
Wow.
So a person is going to be able to go to the supermarket and go, wow, I don't have to spend that much more, and I have completely green solution, 100% compostable. You put in it's essentially a leaf. So we're really, really excited. We're coming out with I think 3 or 4 SKUs at first, only going to expand to more.
And then, unless I'm mistaken as well, that the plants that are making this clay, you're not cutting down any trees. The fact is, this is just actually branches at the bottom of those, which actually are going to fall off naturally anyways.
Have you ever heard of a product which is raw materials free? That's what this is. Nature is giving us the raw materials. We do not have to turn on a single engine or what do you call it, a lawnmower or a chainsaw to cut anything down. You're absolutely right, Richard. All we do is the very bottom of the tree, there are leaves. We just pluck those leaves. We take them, and we are also sensitive also of the climatic. So the forest needs a few months every year to regenerate. We don't go in there at all in that time. It's a very natural process. We're actually working with the rhythms of the forest. And that's what's wonderful about it. So it's really a magical solution. We're just going back to the way it was,
And so when do you anticipate this being available at retail? Like, when can people do you anticipate being able to now have a choice between Hey Jute's line, plastic, and paper, which we must first off admit as well, Vijay, that I'll go and say, because I've been at parties like that, where most of those paper or plastic, all they're done is they're sent in the garbage. They're not recycled. So again, all they're doing is they're ending up in our landfill, which is something else which we have to do better at, because our landfills are getting so heavy that we don't have enough space for the rest of for garbage for generations to come.
Exactly, Richard. As you said earlier, we only recycle 9% of our garbage, of our recyclers. So out of 100 things that we put in the blue bin, only 9 of them are recycled, and the rest of them, as you're saying, landfills. Or we used to ship them to what we call third world countries. So we literally ship our garbage to other people. And when Canadians found this out, we were really embarrassed of ourselves, right? So we're trying to make them take the necessary steps. So absolutely, I mean, it's very important that we come up with solutions like this. Yeah.
Excellent. And so when do we anticipate this being available at retail?
Oh, yes. Sorry. So we're hoping in a few months from now, We're actually in the midst of just figuring out all the packaging, the logistics of it all. And we're very pleased to announce our relationship that we've signed with JPS Marketing and Food Distribution Guide that's representing us. We're taking this product to the market now. We're very, very excited to be working together. And a really exciting time. We're a few months away and you'll be seeing this in the market, and game changer, really.
Well, I do know we look forward to working with you on this, VJ, and bringing the line to the market for you. So let's say you're going to have two different types of lines. Is that correct? Could you just a little difference between the two brand names that you're going to have under the Hey Jute name?
Yeah, sure. So we, under the Hey Jute, basically our mandate under Hey Jute is to offer plant-based alternatives to plastic. So we predominantly have so far been working with this material called jute that looks like this. It looks kind of like burlap. This is the magic plant that I'm telling you about. And we custom create packaging. We innovate packaging for various industries. They're a great promotional product as well. And now we're getting into the food tableware and the food industry, in that food packaging industry. And this is where we are now introducing the Sol Leaf solution, working with you for that. Game changer, really. So we like working with plants. We like working with leaves. There's another line called the Moon Loom line, which has actually come out of Guatemala, which is higher end lifestyle accessories. You can find all of this stuff at heyjute.com. The Sol Leaf is super exciting. There's an introductory video on our Instagram that you can see that talks about the stuff that you brought up, Richard, the forests and how they're plucked and all of the process of how it's sourced and manufactured. It's really a great video to watch. So those are the basic things. So I would say stay tuned. We're going to keep introducing plant-based solutions for all kinds of things. We don't need plastic.
So if someone would like to make contact with you, let's say maybe being a customer that would like to maybe sell your products, or maybe even, for example, have you be a guest speaker, speak about the importance of the environment as you're so dedicated to this, what's the best way to reach you, PJ?
Thank you, Richard. I'm actually very passionate about the environment. And in fact, I do a workshop that I do at different grocery stores and organizations and schools. It's called My Sustainable Life. And I'm actually willing to do one if you want live on your show, if you want it sometime.
Please, we'd love to have you on that. We'd love to work. Well, I think it's so important. That's great to hear. And we'd love to have you be part of this, our podcast series again, to show how this helps and how you're helping to even educate the younger generation about the importance of the environment and the importance of being able to use products that are decompostable and not have to go into landfill or in our recycling bins.
Thank you, Richard. And what's really important is presenting this to buyers, because buyers are very powerful people, right? They have the ability to make a certain choice in the market and offer customers a certain type of product or certain type of ethics, So, and a lot of buyers want to do a good thing. They want to offer their customers a good product. And so much of the misconceptions, it's not even their fault. So I'm really passionate about presenting this truth to as many platforms as possible, and especially have buyers at the very least have this knowledge, right? And then they can, you can reach me, you could go to heyjute.com, HEYJUTE.com, and send an email through there. Or you could go to Instagram at HEYJUTE. My personal email address is actually, I'll spell it out. It's the letter V, the letter J, at megalith, megalith.net. So VJ at megalith.net. You can reach me that way. One of these ways, you'll
Great. Well, thank you again to VJ Bala for being our guest.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you. This has been really great. And thank you for all the work that you're doing, actually, also.
You're welcome, man. If you're a food manufacturer seeking distribution in the Canadian grocery sector, I invite you to visit our website at www.fooddistributionguy.com, GUI.com. Thank you again, VJ, and we look forward to our next podcast series with you.
Thanks, Richard. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.